And let's bring in our panel. Former Victorian Liberal Party President Michael Kroger, former Labor advisor Darrin Barnett. Gentlemen, great to see you both. Darrin, the Labor government finishing the year on a political high with the passage of that energy intervention, Darrin.
Definitely. It's been a very successful legislative year. Obviously, since the change of government, Anthony Albanese has done what he said he would do. He's passed an integrity commission, climate targets. Now we have some relief for consumers and energy. So I think he's going to go into the long break with a big smile on his face.
Michael Kroger, what's your read on this? With those forecast price rises, I guess the government of the day had to do something, but it does carry risks.
Well, mate, it certainly does carry risks, and I hear what Darrin says. On the other hand, you might say that it's got a little bit of a whiff of the Whitlam government about it, this sort of crash through or crash approach to policy with the potential of long-term damage. These short-term fixes like energy sounds great. Prices will go up $500 instead of $700, something like that. A long way from the promise that he made that we'd save $275. But this intervention is extraordinary. It's unprecedented. The risk of it being long-term damage to Australia's national reputation is significant. It was done in an immense hurry. It's got the whole industry offside. It's been globally negative for us in terms of publicity. And the worry is that whilst it looks good in the immediate sense, sovereign risk has been raised as an issue now to investing in Australia, and long term that's a very bad thing, Kieran.
Darrin, how do you reflect on the year 2022, a massive year in political terms, the federal election? How do you look back at the year that was in terms of the political landscape?
Well, obviously, if you change the government, you change the country. And I think Anthony Albanese and his team, and that's an important part of it, his team. There's so many competent ministers in his front bench that they've done a good job across the board. So obviously, since that election, I think circumstances played well for the government. Straight afterwards, there was a lot of work to be done internationally. I think Richard Marles, Penny Wong, Anthony Albanese did a very good job on the global stage, and other ministers since that time. My old boss, Tanya Plibersek's been busy in the environment. Others have been stepping up. Chris Bowen, I think, has had a very successful stretch since coming into power. So the other part that's worth noting is, particularly with the Victorian election result, the South Australian election result, the Labor brand at the moment is strong. And we all know that these things don't last forever, but you kind of make hay while the sun shines. So at the moment, Labor is a good brand, and we're seeing a fairly successful period for governments across the board.
Yeah, well, it's a fair thing to say when you look at the results in recent elections. Michael, how do you reflect on the year 2022, the winners and losers?
Well, mate, I've been around long enough to see Labor written off on any number of occasions over the last 30 or 40 years. Is the Labor Party finished, etc., etc.? I should dig out some old articles. And at the minute we're reading, is the Liberal Party finished? So I've been through these cycles.
Exactly.
Obviously, after 9 years with no serious fourth-term agenda, the Morrison government lost office. Well done to Albanese and his team. They ran a small target strategy. It was cleverly done. Andrews won, showing strength and stability. They're the two reasons why I think he was re-elected. But the challenge for the Liberal Party is not to become a reactionary party. As I keep saying, it seems as if we're against everything. And the public are not actually sure what changes we're in favour of. You can't just argue for the status quo. So we're against the Republic. We're probably against the Voice, I presume. Well, I am, but I presume the Parliamentary Party will be against that. We're against the gas price and coal price fixes, et cetera, et cetera. Necessarily against the wage increases, against the industrial relations changes. What is the Liberal Party actually arguing for? And it's all very well to go back and say Menzies principles, which is absolutely correct, but in a policy sense, what does that mean? And the challenge is for our MPs to find some things they're arguing for, some changes they're arguing for, not just the status quo, not just opposing the agenda of the centre and the centre-left. So that's the challenge going into 23, and that's what we failed to do. That's what we failed to do, by the way, in the federal election. Unless you've got a powerful case for change, going into a fourth-term agenda, you're going to lose, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and as you've said to me before, optimism that the best days are ahead. It's part of that narrative. Michael Kroger, great to see you, and Darrin Barnett. Gentlemen, thank you both for your contribution today and right throughout the year. All the best for Christmas and the New Year.
You too, mate.
Thank you, Kieran. Thanks, Michael.